we can't do a show without including AOC at some point. Good old AOC. She's been coming out with some pretty funny stuff of late. One of which is, she says, young American men are embracing the wrong type of masculinity. Now, I would assume that for the past few years, that has been the wrong type of masculinity to be embracing for young men. Beta males. I think a lot of young American men are embracing other men's masculinity. Maybe that's what she meant. But it's kind of good. I've seen of late some young men, and they are taking on a more traditional masculine role and saying that betas are, they use other words, of course. It starts with an F. But, the idea that AOC thinks young men in this country, it shows how out of touch she is with the young people of this country. Young people aren't these bleeding heart liberals anymore, ready to embrace the left. It just isn't happening. I'm not talking about people in their early 20s here. I'm talking about the young people, the people that are in high school right now, in junior high even. They don't want to embrace what the left has been about the past few years. I think you really have to look at people in their maybe late teens, early 20s to find the tail end of those liberal dye the hair and pierce your nose septum kind of a thing. Because the younger generation, the ones that are coming up into their late teens and early 20s in a couple of years, they've had it. They have had it with the nonsense with the liberals. And some of their joking around is a lot similar to the joking around that we used to do as kids. Busting balls, it was called. You talk to your friends and, you call them things that aren't really socially accepted these days. So it is kind of good to see, and it always works like that. It kind of ebbs and flows, and it's a swinging pendulum. And the young people really don't want to do what they consider older people have done. They just don't. It's stupid. It's not cool. So we're kind of seeing that. But AOC has a thought on this and what type of masculinity men should be embracing as opposed to what they're doing today.
And they are able to radicalize and target and exploit a generation of young boys, in particular, away from healthy masculinity and into an insecure masculinity that requires the domination of others who are poorer, browner, darker, or a different gender than them. And that is why they are resonating online, because they are appealing to the most basest and worst parts of human nature to divide.
Can you even? Does she understand that the only people that are creating this mindset in young men, and she says, against brown people. So what, young white men? Is that who she's talking about? When she says the certain type of masculinity to embrace? Do you know who has affected the mindset of young people? You, dummy. Liberals. You think these young people, especially young white kids, do you think they've enjoyed being called the biggest problem this country has? That everything they do and achieve is based on some kind of past gift that's been handed to them, privilege, Do you think they've enjoyed being the people that can be kicked around with impunity for years now? Is that it? Or do you think these crazy people have hypnotic powers? And for no reason at all, these young people have decided they're not putting up with being the punching bag anymore. And they're going to speak out when they're pissed at things. And when they're called these names by the left, these titles are put on them, the phobes. If you're a phobe or an ist, whatever it may be, they're just going to turn around and go, yep, don't care. I just don't care what you call me, what you think of me. You matter nothing to me. And you think there's this secret right-wing cabal that is brainwashing these youngsters into that mindset? Or do you think they've just had it with you and your garbage and how they're the root of all evil around the entire world? They got a few more years to ripen and to ruminate, but they're coming up, and they're not happy with the way the liberals have been running things in this country for a few years now. That has brought us things like Drag Queen Story Hour and LGBTQ women in men's sport, or men in women's sports. I can't even get it straight myself sometimes. So, yeah, I hope people like AOC realize that that's just the new latest generation coming up that's tired of the crap that the previous generation has given them. Godspeed. Godspeed, kids. Jazzy Jasmine. I also can't get through a show without talking about Jazzy Jasmine Crockett. She's all over the place, too, much like AOC. I think she's looking for a Senate seat in Texas. Is that what she thinks she's doing now? She really is under the misconception that she's popular in a good way. She thinks all the people talking about her means that she's liked and popular. No, we talk about you because you're freakishly stupid, and your thought process, if it can even be called that, is so screwy. And she rides this fence between being a hood rat. She wants to be ghetto for the credibility, but we all know she went to a very nice school. She was raised in a nice neighborhood. She speaks properly when she wants to. And then she could do, a crip dance with her tongue sticking out if need be. She's quite a chameleon, this one. Jazzy Jasmine Crockett. She first clip we have of Jazz is she's defending, that Virgin Island representative, Stacey Plaskett. She thought it was all fine and well to text with Jeffrey Epstein during a congressional hearing on Donald Trump. Pretty important one. Donald Trump's lawyer was testifying, and she was taking questions from Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein was saying, say this. Here's something. Do you know who this woman is? Ask him about this woman. He was directing her. And this is after he had already been, at the very least, accused. He had been through some legal wranglings before the last one that put him in jail and had him commit suicide. But he had already gone through legal wranglings that entailed sex with underage girls and on his little island there in the Virgin Islands, by the way. She was his representative. He was one of her constituents. And that's the excuse she gives for accepting his texts, his direction. She was being directed by him. And it's all well and fine because he's a constituent. And then Jasmine Crockett defends her texting in one of the most ridiculously idiotic ways. Let's listen to Jazzy.
Because I'm sorry, but like we don't have ethical like rules that say that you can't receive text messages or you can't respond to text messages, especially if somebody has a certain record and you can't do it in committee. We all be sitting on our phones, and yes, people be texting. I mean, our staff text us. Like everybody texts us. Like people, I remember when I had the bleach blonde situation, you know who was texting me? My pastor. Okay. So like, let me be clear. There is no ethical violation. And so the idea or the audacity to decide that you want to strip a black woman of her committee assignment because she was texting with Epstein.
Can you believe she just... Oh, my pastor texted me. Yeah, it's a little different than a guy who ran a pedophile island. They just cannot accept the responsibility of having done something at the very least inappropriate. She's all like, oh, we be texting. Really? What college did you graduate from? Jazzy Jasmine. We'll come back. I got one more clip from Jazzy Jasmine when we come back. Stick around. We're focusing here for a bit on Jasmine Crockett, who she's getting a lot of attention. She has been for kind of a while now, and some people are anointing her, perhaps a presidential run. Please. Please. Oh, I would love to see J.D. Vance and Jasmine Crockett on that debate stage. The primaries would even be hilarious. Watching her with who? Liz Warren? Is she going to give it another try? I don't know. But that would be kind of fun to watch. So, as we know, Jasmine Crockett has to throw race into everything. Every single thing is a racial slight or some type of, bringing up the evil past of America. So she's blaming Trump. What is she blaming? This is impossible. Just listen to this. Here's Jasmine Crockett blaming Donald Trump again.
Gonna do? They not even going. Honestly, they're about to outlaw the idea of white supremacy and white hate. Like they are about to be like, oh, that's not a thing. Forget the fact that you're talking about getting rid of like the classification for nooses in a time in which we have seen these random black bodies be strung up down south. Also, seemingly at a time in which you're back in office, because what you do is you embolden the hate. You embolden everybody to take off their hoods. That is what he has done. He is the one that is producing this violence. Listen,
I don't know how to even react to that. The people that are being strung up, is she implying that there is a new a bunch of... She's saying that people are being lynched again? Is that what she's trying to say? What? Show me anything. I've seen stories, but they've all concluded through rigorous police investigations that these were anything but lynchings, suicides. It's unfortunate people hang themselves. They're depressed, whatever it may be. But the thought that that Donald Trump, being president, is somehow emboldening people to take their hoods off, their masks, because, you know, everyone's a Klansman to Jasmine Crockett, and lynch people. It's astonishingly ignorant and just blatantly lying. And talk about divisive. You want to start telling people in your community that listen to you, especially when you speak like that, let me tell you that white people are back to lynching black people in the South. That's a way that you feel you can unite the nation? Holy mackerel, lady. She is out of control. Just out of control. But like I've said, I think she's just cannon fodder for the left. They're letting all the mental patients get it out of their system because they know damn well, especially if they're going to run against J.D. Vance, they need a moderate, a real moderate, not one of these liberal moderates. They need a real moderate. And in order to make someone even look like a moderate on the left, they need to contrast with ridiculous, mentally ill people. And that's why you see people like Jasmine Crockett out there and Representative Presley and AOC even. You need them out there to seem like the lunatics that they are. And then they could bring someone out that has some moderate ideas and they will look like, oh my God. Even some people on the right will go, now that's a guy I can vote for. He's not crazy like Jasmine Crockett. So that's the only reason. Let's be clear. It's the only reason they're letting Jasmine Crockett run around like the idiot she is to get her nonsense out there. It's just to contrast the actual presidential candidate that will be a moderate dude. That's it. Boy, that was something. Imagine doing that. And our elections, God, no, who knows? Who knows what they will bring if Swalwell has his way. You know, the guy that had sexual relations with a Chinese spy and remained on the National Security Council. I don't know. I'm not a politician. I don't profess to be a poli-sci expert or anything like that. But I would think you'd lose your job pretty quickly if you're part of National Security Committee and you're having sex with a Chinese spy. But nothing. Again, no consequences. Why would there be? Well, Mr. Swalwell wants to change the way we vote. I think he's making a run for California governor, and he wants a whole nother voting thing. Does he mean ID? Does he mean verification of citizenship? Does he mean live ballots right there at the polling place? Well, let's hear. Let's hear what he says about what he wants as far as voting goes.
I want us to be able to vote by phone. I think every Californian vote by phone. Yeah, if we can do our taxes, do our make our healthcare appointments, make essentially do your banking online, you should be able to vote by phone. Make it safe, make it secure, but it's actually already happening all over the United States. I want us to be a blue state that doesn't do just a little bit better than like Georgia or Alabama when it comes to like voting access. I want us to max out democracy. Also, as it relates to democracy, if you wait in line for 30 minutes or more, if you do want to vote in person, I think you should fine every county for every minute that a person has to wait longer. We have to be better, not just a little bit better than the other states. The DMV. I don't think Californians should have to go in person to the DMV anymore. I think we can do that virtually. I think you can have the DMV employees do it virtually, but that's a lot of real estate.
Is that the most popular position?
Digitize the DMV. Digitize the DMV.
Today, yeah.
We can modernize the state, and I look forward to bringing these ideas to Californians.
Oh my God, what an idiot! First of all, yeah, we do our banking, we do our taxes, we do everything on our phones. Yeah, we do. And you know what you have to do in order to get through to those sites to do your banking? You have to go through an unbelievable security protocol where you have to prove who you are. Are you okay with that part of it? Or do you just want people to be able to go, well, let me dial up my vote. I think I can vote for this guy on my phone. Yeah. Is that what you want to do? Does he understand that security is a huge part of doing anything on your phone? And we've seen the content farms and the farming that India and China are doing as far as our social media platforms go to make money and to influence things. So you think that wouldn't become a problem in an election? Oh, holy smoke. Let's just get back to where there's ID and in-person voting at polling places. How about that? Instead of your let's vote by phone. All right, we'll be back in moments. Stick around for more of the Anthony Cumia Show. Everyone loves when I talk about our good friend Steven Singer. Hey, it's Anthony Cumia here. I've been telling you about Steven, the I Hate Steven Singer guy, for decades. If you haven't heard yet, Steven Singer Jewelers was named one of America's leading jewelers. There are almost 18,000 jewelers in America, and less than 50 jewelers have received this wonderful honor. Just another reason why other jewelers hate him. They hate Steven Singer. Steven's a jeweler you can trust. He has the best guarantees, the best warranties, and all at the perfect price 365 days a year. Steven always has the best value on real diamond jewelry. No phony sales, no fake discounts or pricing games, no nonsense ever. Just easy and fun. That's why he's considered one of the most trusted jewelers in America. No one does diamonds better. Experience the difference at Steven Singer Jewelers. Online at IHateStevenSinger.com. That's IHateStevenSinger.com. A lot of people have something to say about the meeting between Trump and Mamdani. We did address that just for a little bit earlier, but Nate in the Bronx, what's up, man?
Hey, Anthony, how are you? So pretty much, I frequently mention the book, The Culture Critique by Dr. Kevin McDonald. And the reason why I'm calling tonight is really to make the connection between that book, its critique of immigration policy, and the rise of Mamdani here in New York City. Now, it's no secret that, he's now being accused of anti-Semitism, but it's no secret that Jewish voters and Jewish politicians tend to be politically left-leaning.
Yeah, I'm amazed at how many New York Jews voted for Mamdani. It seems a bit self-destructive, but what do I know?
Right. So, but basically, in the book, it details how Jewish politicians like Emanuel Seller, Jacob Javits, Herbert Lehman, Sam Dickstein, a whole host of them in the Congress worked literally for decades on end to overturn European-oriented immigration policies and open the borders to the third world. Mm-hmm. And it's a policy that's really coming back to bite them in the ass, because that's how you really ended up with Mamdani. I mean, he wouldn't even be here if the 1965 Immigration Act had not been enacted.
Absolutely.
It's a clear case that Jews support policies that oftentimes short-sightedly do a disservice to their own community. They dominate institutions like the media. They dominate institutions like the academy, the universities. They remain politically on the left, but again, the left is increasingly anti-Israel and increasingly anti-Jewish. So it's really a paradox of power that, you really see still displayed by the 2% of the U.S. American population that happens to be Jewish.
I sometimes think like Mamdani getting in and, he's been at least trying to present himself as a champion for the Jews in New York. Is it kind of like, hey, you're under the microscope here because you're a Muslim, and we will really be able to keep an eye on you to see if you do anything that is not good for the Jewish people of New York City. So perhaps it's kind of, you put someone in there that is going to be under that microscope.
It's possible, but I really doubt it. I see Mamdani as being potentially. I mean, I know it might make your stomach wrench, but I see him potentially as a presidential candidate along the lines of.
Well, he can't be. He was born.
That's right. Excuse me.
Yeah.
He has to be a natural born citizen.
He was born
right?
outside.
That's right.
Thank God we have that going for us. At least right. Now. Who knows? It might change over the course of the years with the way this country's going. Right.
But, I see him more of the type of leader like Jeremy Corbyn in the Labour Party in Britain, whereby you had a party that depended on Muslim votes or at least immigrant votes to get politicians elected, but right. Jewish donors to get the campaign funds flowing. The Democratic Party is at that inflection point where a lot of American Jews are saying, hey, we're rethinking whether or not we should be supporting the Democratic Party and then moving over to the Republican Party. Yeah. It's really how the neoconservatives came to power. They used to be former leftists who thought the Democratic Party was insufficiently supportive of Israel. That's how the neoconservatives really grew to be a political force in American politics.
Unfortunately,
we'll see.
Unfortunately, I think we can't really figure this one out. I think we got to see how it goes. But thanks, Nate. Appreciate the call. And there's a story here out of New York. A 67-year-old guy sentenced to 4 years in prison for defending himself. His crime, he didn't have a registered gun. You could argue the point, the law's the law, the rules are the rules. But when a state and a city like New York State, New York City, actively prohibit people from exercising their Second Amendment right, some people have to, I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6 is the common phrase that people use. They'd rather have a gun and if they need to use it, face the consequences of having a technically illegal gun. But this guy is 67 and he's going to spend what could be his last years, who knows, at that point, in prison. He fatally shot a would-be mugger during a robbery gone wrong. Seems like it went right if he shot him. Charles Foner from Queens, New York, appeared stone-faced as he arrived in Queens County Court. Foner, a retired doorman, was walking to a parking garage outside his Queens apartment when he was mugged. The suspect, Cody Gonzalez, demanded money. That's what they do. And Foner whipped out his firearm and blasted the assailant. After killing Gonzalez on the spot, Foner was charged with 26 counts of criminal possession of a weapon, but did not receive any charges related to the fatal shooting. This, if you're in my age bracket, you might remember Bernie Getz, subway gunman, back in the 80s when New York was really a treat to ride the subway, especially. Bernie was approached by four gentlemen who were robbing him, demanded $1, I think, or $5. And Bernie pulled out a gun and shot them. I think he wounded all of them. He paralyzed one. He hit one in the leg. Bernie was a geek. He wasn't really the Charles Bronson that we all wanted. When the news came out, Bernie had fled upstate right after it happened. And there were just some drawings of him. Witnesses said, it was a tall guy. And we all thought it was going to be Charles Bronson from Death Wish. And then we see who Bernard Getz is. And he's this tall, geek, glasses, like pen protector in his pocket, kind of a geek. And he had just had it, you know. He had it. He'd been robbed before, and he never felt safe out on the streets or especially in the subway. So he got himself a gun. He didn't, especially back then, it was really difficult to get a gun in New York City. And he was forced to use it to protect himself. He didn't get charged for any of the shootings of those gentlemen, but he got a year for an illegal weapon in New York. And he did the year. And this guy's getting 4 years for pretty much the same thing. It's just too difficult. They put you through too many hoops, and it takes too long. If you're a 67-year-old guy in New York City and you've been threatened before, maybe you've been robbed before, you don't have time to go through all of the paperwork and money to exercise your right. This should be illegal. If they want to restrict people from getting guns in New York, which they obviously do, they should have to come up with some other way than having people pay money to exercise a right. It costs money to do this. I don't know how that's legal. But he did this. It was on surveillance camera. It shows that this guy was mugging him. And they decided, the prosecutor, that he should do 4 years. Now, the other argument is, well, he pled guilty. So it's his fault if he's doing 4 years. He should have went to trial. Anyone saying that doesn't understand how plea deals work and how the court system works. When you have an overburdened court system like New York City does, the last thing they want is an actual trial. I think 90% of all cases in New York City are pled out or a deal is made or something. And that happens. And what they do is they tell these potential defendants that they could do 25 years. Oh, boy, you want to go through a trial? Well, it could be 25 years in prison. And you're sitting there going, that's a life sentence. Absolutely a life sentence. Or we could give you 4 years. Look, you're good. You could be out in 2.5. And most people take the deal. The prospect that you're going to do 25 years in prison, and when you make a plea deal, they make you say that nothing forced you into making this deal. I was not coerced. No, I was given no favors. I wasn't threatened. I make this deal of my own fruition and blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, that's crap. They are threatening you. They're holding 25 years over your head. And you don't know in a New York City courtroom what kind of jury you're going to get. You're just some old 67-year-old white dude that shot somebody. Someone named Gonzalez. And you're going to take that to trial in New York? New York City? And they're telling you 25 years if you lose? Believe me, you're being coerced into taking 4 years. It's unbelievable that there are people that commit heinous crimes that result in death, maiming of people. They terrorize people, and then they're back out. They're out on the streets with an ankle monitor that no one monitors. So the fact that this guy has to do 4 years in prison is the proverbial travesty of justice. It's disgusting. It's totally disgusting. This poor bastard, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71 years old. maybe he gets out. That's an iffy period of your life right there. You don't know what 1 month to the next is going to bring. He's never been in trouble. Never been in trouble before. Got a family. They're doing him a favor. He didn't have to report to prison until after New Year so he could spend Christmas and New Year with his family. Thanks a lot. Thanks for the friggin' favor. This guy. They couldn't just cut him a break. No. You know why? Because the judge probably didn't have a similar background and could have utilized his experience as a white guy to maybe let this guy off the hook. Little interesting turn of events. Unbelievable. So disgusting, though. Hi, Sandra. How are you?
Oh, hi, Anthony. How are you?
Oh, great. What's up?
I'm listening to you, and I'm thinking, you know what I'm thinking? I'm almost beginning to think there's no hope with anything going forward. Every which way I look, there's a problem. But yeah. I continue to stay strong, and I continue to stay positive, even though I was just saying what I said to you. I was thinking about Donald Trump and his meeting with Mandani.
Yeah.
I expected it to go exactly the way it did because that's how Trump is. He's like, visualize a beehive and all the bees. They're really peaceful, but if you play around with those bees, you will get stung. And that's what Donald Trump, I hope, will do if need be going forward when he becomes mayor. I'm trusting he's going to keep an eye on him and maybe by being friendly with him, he'll share his ideas with Trump, and Trump will be on top of things, I'm hoping. Yeah, and if I'm wrong, I'll be disappointed.
It's from The Godfather, keep your friends close and your enemies closer.
That's right. And then I'm thinking, look at Marjorie Taylor Greene. Now, I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned about the primaries, what's going to happen now that she's not going to be in Congress. Now, Donald Trump, he felt that she wasn't really right to be a senator or a governor. And he said her polls were low, whatever the reason was.
Right.
He said no, he didn't cave in. He doesn't cave in, and he won't cave in with this man.
No, he doesn't have to. That's why he's like, people don't understand. That's why. Thank you, Sandra. They don't understand. That's why Trump has the power he has. He doesn't have to be liked. He doesn't have to do things for other people. He could just be the a-hole that people think he is. I think that's a good thing. I want to get Mike from Hudson Valley on. Mike, says here you were a rookie cop in Williamsburg. Your precinct arrested Bernie Getz.
In 1984, I was a brand new cop out of the academy, and Getz was spotted in Williamsburg, and we're turning out, and this big, burly Irish lieutenant goes, "Let me talk to these son of a bitch in greenhorns." He goes, "You do not bring him in this station house. If you see him, you let him go.
Wow.
You do not bring him in here."
Good old days.
And let me tell you, no one, if we saw him, we would not bring him in.
Yeah. Yeah, he went upstate for a little while. I did an interview with him a while back. He's nutty as a fruitcake, but he had dumped the gun up there. I think he buried it on the side of the Taconic or something. And
oh my God.
It's just a fascinating story, though, because especially back then, and it is like now, people were fed up with it, and they'd had it, and they looked at Bernie Getz like he was Charles Bronson, and then we saw him. It was like, well, I guess everybody's kind of pissed at this whole thing. And
Anthony, not for nothing, Williamsburg in 1984 was a burnt-out shell ghetto run by the gangs.
Not a not a hipster.
Nothing like this today.
Yeah, hipster central and.
Yeah, believe me. But I love your show. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mike. Take care, man. Thank you for your service on the NYPD. Yeah, those were the days. People were just, and it's getting a similar feel in New York. There's a similar vibe to the 80s. Not quite the 90s. The 90s was really nuts because of like crack and everything had really taken hold, and organized crime was still kind of a thing. So it was nutty, but there's a vibe in New York now where it's not like it was with Giuliani or even Bloomberg or even de Blasio when it really started turning. There's just a bad feeling people have right now about New York, about walking around and being safe. And I see the tourists take their kids there, and you're like, what are you doing? You flew all the way from Germany or England to wheel your luggage down a sidewalk, down 9th Avenue and 43rd. And you're like, what are you doing, dude? Get your family out of here, you nut. All right, back in moments with more of the show. Don't go anywhere. You know, I like talking about the media, the mainstream media here in the United States of America, and what a left-wing propaganda machine this has just been for forever, really. You know, I kind of look back with rose-colored lenses on when I think of what the news was many years ago, and you kind of believed it. You know, you had your local news guys and then your national news guys, Walter Cronkite. And even I was, a little young for Walter Cronkite, but I do remember people believed him. He had what they called journalistic integrity. And he was a known liberal. All of them really were, all your news people. Once they started getting just the talking head on especially cable networks, when that came about, it didn't matter. They were just going to follow whatever orders came from the top. I think people like Cronkite and all the real reporters of that era, I think they believed what they were doing, and they had their political ideology, and it was usually left wing. But I think it was very hard for them to try to taint that journalistic integrity that they at least showed people that they supposedly had. Now they just don't even, there's no integrity at all, journalistic or any other type of integrity in the media. And it is funny, though, how these days we know the media is unbelievably left-wing, fanatically left-wing. And they like trying to tell their viewers, dwindling, by the way, on a daily basis, they like trying to tell their viewers that the right are the ones that are have taken hold of the media. Donald Trump somehow has intimidated and frightened the media so much that they will now do his bidding. And it's just insane. Every story that comes out about Trump is negative. How is he running the media and the narrative of what they're saying about him? It's just not true. But it won't stop them from saying that the media is in Trump's pocket. Here is former White House spokesperson Jen Psaki. Remember Jen Psaki? And she's talking with the completely unbiased Katie Couric. Oh, boy. And they're talking about the White House press corps. Now, the White House press corps are people in the media that have White House press credentials. They go in and, you can't have every reporter go in there. So they come out and the major networks get the stories from these reporters. And then the minor kind of news organizations take from those stories to present their own thing about what they saw in the White House. And I guess Jen Psaki is talking about the White House press corps and how they are now, get this, sycophants of Donald Trump. They're under his spell, doing his bidding. How is that possible when you see every day on the news anti-Trump stories? Let's listen to Jen Psaki here.
That I think doesn't, I think you've probably talked about this because you know well, but I don't think that's enough attention, is the way they're reshaping the people in the press briefing room. More and more of the questions in there are by sycophants, are by people who are not asking about news that the American people cares about, but they're asking about, I mean, literally a question has started more than once. Why is Trump in such good shape, right? Or they are, putting out conspiracy theories. They're people who, and they are getting a lot of the questions. There are some of the people who are in the press pools. This means that reporters who are there to cover MBS being at the White House or to cover Zelensky being at the White House or to ask these questions that Mary Bruce fortunately asked yesterday, there are fewer of them. And that is, you don't know that and see that unless you've lived there, but that's a huge, huge problem because it's becoming more of a Kremlin-esque press corps.
Kremlin.
Right. And they've invited a lot of reporters from very right-wing media outlets. Yeah. And you're right. They usually say, I forget, there was one example, like, did you ever believe that you would be the peacemaker? I mean, just so, and is.
You could cut her off there. Yeah. Maybe a reminder of Joe Biden. What ice cream you like, Joe? How about that? While his son was allegedly doing coke in the White House and making deals with Ukraine, and they are such liars. Do not buy into the nonsense. All right. Love you, people. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Anthony Cumia Show. Anthony Cumia on X. We'll see you next time.